today's show, Home with Sloane, we catch up with the skipper and his family. We reach into the archives to discover one of the club's greatest finals wins.
They're the best times when you play footy, is in the rooms after the game.
And we check in on the players' fitness regime. Hi everyone, welcome to another Optus Crows Show. I'm Alana Smith. Happy Easter, and I hope you're enjoying a relaxing long weekend amidst these very challenging times. Well, the footy hiatus continues, and for the players that means more time at home. But the coronavirus restrictions have one silver lining, as Rory Sloane explains.
Spent a lot of time in the backyard. This weather's been amazing. Don't know what we'll do middle of winter if it gets that far, because I mean the sun's been out every day. It's been perfect weather. So spent a lot of time in the backyard, exercising in the pool, trying to keep busy. I mean, I've been really lucky. I mean, he came into the world at the end of the season, so I had the entire off season. And look, I always look for a silver lining in things. I mean, certainly getting to spend a lot of time with him, certainly a massive silver lining for me. We chuck a mat out and just try and get as much sun as possible. Cooking, I've actually had a lot more time, so I've been enjoying cooking again. And then just trying to stay social too. I mean, a fair few of us have been using that house party app, but friends and family, try and stay in touch with them and FaceTime as much as possible just to keep that sort of social connection. I was still lucky enough we can still go out, especially in SA, and go out and train on footy ovals and that kind of thing, which is important just to keep our legs moving. But I got set up in the garage. You've got a big squat rack, bench press, a treadmill, assault bike, got some ropes. Belinda's been trying to run me through a few Pilates classes too, which has been fun.
Yeah, baby! Oh, damn, baby! Here it is! Go, Crows! Woo!
I got there, so I mean, who knows what happens from here on in, so at least I've got the 200th ticked off. I had a big thing planned on Sunday, and I had a lot of friends and family that were meant to come over from Melbourne, and I'm kind of glad I called it in the end, called it off, because yeah, there were going to be too many flights. It might have even got cancelled, so for just safety reasons it was probably better off. But I had a few of the teammates around here after the game on Saturday night, had some food catered, and yeah, that was nice.
Just on the way Fish has gone about it, unbelievable with the first year, especially a key position player, can get a debut in round one. Not many blokes do it, mate, and the way you've grown this pre-season, you know, I've had numerous chats about how much everyone rates you. I remember Letty early on, which was pretty hard to impress, saying you're a jet.
He actually sent me a really nice message, just how pumped he was to play, and for a young guy to do that straight after a game, I was really blown away. So that was really kind of him, and it was certainly nice for me to share that game with him as well. And before the game, it was one of the nicest moments, having everyone sort of sit in a big circle. And we got to hear his old man speak about Fisher, which I love hearing those sort of stories.
Well, we've heard from the current captain, and now we're going to reminisce about the feats of a former leader. Most people quite rightly remember my co-host on this show, Mark Bickley, as Adelaide's two-time premiership captain. However, all great careers must start somewhere. So let's see how the boy from Port Pirie kicked off his AFL journey way back in 1991.
It's the Crows' first match in Melbourne. Essendon versus Adelaide, live from Windy Hill.
Here they come, running on to Windy Hill this afternoon for the first time. It's a difficult task for Adelaide, as I'm sure Peter McKenna and Don Scott would agree.
Well, the Crows have been very impressive, Pete, so far. I feel it was a top win last Sunday against the Swans.
I think it was just excitement, really. I was a young bloke from the country, had been at South for a couple of years, and yeah, couldn't believe that I got invited out, and then to make the squad and to eventually get a game it was quite remarkable, really.
He's caught with the ball, and the Crows will get away through Denny Hughes. He's looking for Bickley, and Bickley's got it. Not the way he moves, young Bickley. Bickley to the half-forward line.
Quiet and Hodges missing. There's not too much up forward. Matt leads in the race for it. Backup support from Considine. Jarman comes out with it. Not his feet, it's that.
Free kick, King.
it? Never take it?
I didn't have a contract during the week, so Neil Curley called me into his office and put a contract in front of me and said, "You're playing." That was even before selection, so just shows Kel's had a fair bit to do with what was going on. And yeah, just signing that, ringing mum and dad, you know, telling them, and that we're all very excited. But then it was actually the Crows' first game in Melbourne.
Could it be a sheedy tactic, or am I just a little paranoid, but there's not one flag or windsock in sight?
Yes, you did right, Gerard. There is not one around the ground at all, not even on top of the scoreboard. That's where the windsock used to be, but there's the Adelaide Crows. But
there's a fair bit of controversy around it. We got there, the windsock was tied down, we didn't have a change rooms to change in, and yeah, it was quite remarkable. But the game itself, I started on the bench. Chris McDermott was the skipper. He wasn't going that well. The coach wanted to talk to him, so I replaced him pretty early in the game, and yeah, stayed on for the rest of the match.
McDermott, that looks pretty good. The Crows fans behind the goal like it. It's full points.
There's not much reaction.
I think Chris McDermott was the one sort of across the whole pre-season when the club was formed. He was the one that was really the glue that held everyone together, and you know, he was just such a huge influence on me. You know, him being a bit older, and yeah, so I always tried to emulate him in you know, trying to make people feel welcome. He certainly, for someone who had some doubts whether they were good enough and whether they belonged, he certainly made me feel like I was a valued member of the team. So I sort of never forgot that. I wasn't expecting really to play any games in the first year, then to get in and then to stay in there for the whole year. It was just a year of firsts, you know, like playing all the big teams in Melbourne against players that you've sort of grown up idolising, and playing at all the suburban grounds, you know, Victoria Park and Moorabbin, and yeah, certainly not great experiences, and we copped some really big hidings. But when you look back and you think of what happens now, and there's really only, you know, 2 or 3 grounds you play on in Melbourne, it was, I'm so glad I got to experience playing at those suburban grounds. I was really just battling to try and establish myself in the team, and hadn't really even thought about leadership. And the other thing as well, like we were still a fledgling club, and you know, we didn't know how long it was going to take to become you know, a real strong competitor. And in actual fact, we got there reasonably quickly, and in '93 we had an unbelievable year and made it to a prelim, and maybe a bit earlier than what we thought. But then we had a couple of years in the wilderness. So when Brodie arrived, it was there was still a lot of uncertainty, and you know, we'd missed the finals for a number of years in a row. So look, I guess, you know, when things click and go right, you know, there's no ceiling on it, and that's certainly what happened for us, particularly later in the back half of '97.
Plenty more to come on the show, and after the break we delve into the detail of the players' personal training programs.
What we've had to do is basically take action on the run, getting information from the government and the club, and from there building out programs for our players.
Welcome back, I'm Mark Bickley. Believe it or not, Brodie Smith was cheekily named Humphrey by his teammates in the early days at the club, as he never uttered a word, just like the big brown bear who was a much-loved children's television character. Nowadays, Smith is a regular on Media Street, and all of us here on the Optus Crows Show like to think we have played a small part in his rise to fame. This week's flashback is from 2016, when Smith took ownership of his own segment on the show and interviewed his good mate, Rory Laird.
Rory Laird, welcome to the second edition of the Ripper Roast.
Thanks for having me on, Brodie.
Now, we're going to talk a bit of footy first. Last year, came out of the woodwork a bit. All Australian, almost. Talk us through last year.
Yeah, real consistent year for me. Obviously a big improvement in my game. Knew how to, get up each week professionally with my recovery, etc. Sort of stuck onto Danny Tully with that, and yeah, sort of worked out for me pretty well.
Yep, and second in the BNF. We won't mention who to, but they're no longer here, so a few rumours around the club you think you're number one.
Some people put words in my mouth, I dare say. But yeah, it's obviously a good result for me personally, but yeah, obviously a good year for the team as well.
All right, we'll go to off-field.
Okay.
Just walk us through some of your hobbies. What do you like to do away from the club?
I'm a big sports fan, NFL, NBA. I would see a couple of those with you over in the States.
We need to touch on the basketball. We got Rick Henderson's sourced a question from outside. Can you dunk?
Yes, I can dunk. I can dunk with a tennis ball. I'm yet to prove with a basketball, but I can dunk with a tennis ball.
Yeah, just keeping on the off-field theme. Single?
Yes. Are you single?
Yeah, I'll ask questions, mate.
Sorry.
So, definitely single?
Yes.
100%?
100%.
Yep. Okay. Now, nicknames?
Yeah, I got a few.
Off the top of my head, I've got Pulp Man, Pulty, Desk Man, DO5 Decides, Doss, Dosser, Dossier.
Yes.
Any more?
I think you got most of them covered. There's about 10 there. I don't think I've ever been called Rory since I've got here, so Laddie's obviously Laddie. Desk Man, because people think I'm short and kind of wide.
Look like a desk.
Look like a desk. That's a shocker.
Oh, all right, Doss. Thanks for joining us on this week's edition of Ripper Roast.
No worries.
There might not be any games at the moment, but there's always plenty of footy stories floating around, and the club wants to make sure you don't miss a beat. More so than ever, it's important to keep an eye on Adelaide's website, afc.com.au, where you'll find plenty of entertaining content and news as it breaks. There's also the social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, so make sure you follow them closely. Plus, keep an eye on @The Crows Show on Twitter. It's important that we all stay in touch with family, friends and work colleagues during this period of isolation, and many of the players are making the most of the opportunity to provide day-to-day insights into their lives. Thanks to Flight Centre, let's fly around the country and find out what they've been up to during this layoff.
Good to go, boys. Big day for us today. Got this mob right.
G'day, mate.
Austin, what's going on?
How are ya?
Oh, mate, you here, mate?
He wants you to show everyone your new hairstyle, mate. What do we got going underneath that?
We've got something going on. Not too sure what.
Obviously, here at home in self-isolation, what better way to spend it than learning about space and building some Lego. We love our Lego, don't we, Charlie?
We do.
Coming up, we reflect on one of the Crows' most memorable victories as they won their way through to a grand final.
I remember I was probably one of the most anxious and nervous I've been, because I knew what was on the line to play in a grand final.
It's a challenging task to manage the fitness regimes of more than 40 elite athletes at the best of times. But with Crows players now scattered across the country, it's fair to say the strength and conditioning staff have their work cut out. Luckily, high performance boss Matt Hass and his team have a clear plan.
It's been quite interesting. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before, given 14 years in high performance sports. So what we've had to do is basically take action on the run, getting information from the government and the club, and from there building out programs for our players as they disperse all over the country. We had to work very quickly as a team, as a high performance and medical team, pulling those together. We're given very little notice, obviously, and with the government restrictions around crossing borders, we had to get players home as soon as we could, and then with that we had to gather information around access to facilities and equipment, and provide them a program that was specific to what they had, I suppose. The guys in Adelaide, we've done our very best to deliver equipment. The AFC gym's pretty bare at the moment, so we've got a lot of that out early last week. The guys interstate have had to make do, either borrow equipment. Obviously commercial gyms being closed has made that difficult, so as best we can we've relied on our networks to pull that together. Obviously the program rolls on. This isn't annual leave, so the boys are very clear on that. There's a pretty thorough training program in place, so we need to be able to maintain as much fitness and strength that they've been able to accumulate over the pre-season period, and then from there it seems as though we'll get roughly a month to build the guys back up to having to play football. So the guys are really clear on that, and they know 4 weeks isn't a huge amount of time, so there's no real scope to drop away from where they left.
Well, the hard work Matt Haas was just talking about is well and truly worthwhile when you get to experience the exhilaration of a big win. The club's 2017 preliminary final victory over Geelong will long be remembered, and especially by the 53,000 who crammed into Adelaide Oval to witness it firsthand. Thanks to Toyota, let's take a look back at the game when Charlie Cameron and Josh Jenkins combined for 9 goals and the Crouch brothers found plenty of the footy.
It's been 19 long years, but Adelaide are in the grand final.
I remember I was probably one of the most anxious and nervous I've been, because I knew what was on the line to play in a grand final. But I remember we got off to a flying start. I think it was quarter time. Quarter time it was 6 or 7 goals to 1. Charlie kicked a couple, Ed kicked a couple, I think JJ had kicked one. So we're in a good spot at quarter time, and then we went in at half time, I think about 7 goals up.
So around the corner, here's Betts, got the bend on it. What about that? It just peels around the goalpost. Eddie's got his second. Handball to Parfit, arches the back, couldn't run away though. High footy, here comes Dangerfield, and he pushes Lever into the back of Laird.
There's a few moments throughout the game that you do remember.
Good looking ball, Dangerfield knocked it out in front of Selwood. Dangerfield looks like he's out cold.
I remember Danger sort of fumbling the ball as he's come up, so he's met him front on, and both fierce competitors, and as Sloane does, he gets straight back up off the ground. And
total commitment from both players.
There was a ball kicked in on the eastern side, and Jake Lever just fisted this ball. I reckon it went about 20, 25 rows back.
Lever does that so well, doesn't he?
Charlie Cameron's marking the goal square when he sat on their heads, and Eddie's celebration on the bench.
Cameron with a sensational grab, looking at goal number 4.
Well, Danger tried taking on Hardo. Hardo got him holding the ball.
Gets it to Dangerfield. Has he got the length? He's gone. Great tackle. Hardigan gets him down.
So there's certainly memories like that that stick in your head, and yeah, all good fun. What won us the game was our ability to win the ball. Our contested possession and our pressure was just outstanding. It was relentless all night, and led by the boys that I just spoke about, Charlie and Eddie, and Cito had an outstanding game as well. So we were just balanced across the night, which was very pleasing. It stands out that it was very exciting. Family, partners, kids, family, your wives and that were all down there, and the excitement and fun that we're off to the grand final was certainly one to remember, and they're the best times when you play footy, is in the rooms after the game, being able to share it with your teammates and soak up what was a great win.
Well, there's more to come after the break as we celebrate the passion and loyalty shown by Adelaide fans.
The Crows are blessed to have the most committed and passionate fans in the country. And it's been that way since day one. Even back in my playing days, you could always count on the members and supporters to turn out in big numbers, whether it was a game at home or interstate. However, with the coronavirus causing havoc, fans have no choice but to rely on technology to get their message across. And thanks to Optus, we've captured some of their best efforts.
It's a tricky time for everyone, so why not don your team's colours and have a kick? While some get active, others reminisce. Paul Schumacher showed off his collection of Crows membership cards, vowing he'll stick with the club. Hashtag no refund required. Likewise, Robert Lehman, who told the world why he misses footy so much. He just loves the game and can't wait for it to return, saying Crows matches help improve his mental health and bring happiness.
Thanks for tuning in to the Optus Crows Show. Enjoy the rest of your Easter break and we look forward to seeing you again next weekend on 7. See you then.